we always thought, so what's the requirement to who, So I noticed that.
So we were testing the rules and the boundaries.
The rules and boundaries.
Or like we were having a clear mission where we were going, and like keeping in mind like the requirements for that, and then we were changing the process, not the mission.
Right. So we had a common mission. Everybody understood and had the same goal, right? And it was tested over and over again. So, and was I managing that exercise or facilitating? Facilitating. So I kept restating what the boundaries were, but not introducing new and different ideas. So it was you who were doing the process that actually came up with the ideas. Right.
Also, the starting off situation is very interesting, because we could have started off where you said, okay, well, let's make a circle and everybody is 3 meters away from each other. If we had a bigger room,
right.
And you could have started off with, 20 seconds,
right.
or more.
Yeah.
So it's the situation of the organization or the department that is...
Right. And then the discomfort, and the discomfort wasn't too high because, again, the risks were very low, but the discomfort of that first change, it was like sort of testing the boundaries of and exploring what's possible. And then it kind of opened up the floodgates in terms of ideas, right? Rather tentative at first, in terms of what we can really do. Can we rearrange ourselves? So understanding the boundaries or the quality criteria, and having everyone be aligned to that is a really important element of everyone being able to contribute. So if we had some process engineers who had a separate office, and they came in and told us what to do and then left, and then we tried it and said, well, that didn't work, and then how effective is that? When change is imposed from outside the process itself, and this is actually, again, back to Deming, the Kaizen, one of the things the Japanese did as an industry was embrace the Deming principles and empower employees on a production line to stop the production line if something was wrong, and they also were the ones that proposed changes. So, the people who are doing the process, contributing to the innovative ideas, being aligned to the goal, understanding the boundaries and the criteria. Now, what other observations? So what else did we do? So you mentioned it was a long process because we didn't start with the best idea first. How do we get to half a second?
You need to have a lot of ideas and then test them.
We had a lot of ideas and test them, so it was very iterative, right? So
was it teamwork? We were cooperating.
Cooperating, lots of conversation, people. Yeah. So one observation is innovation is seldom a big bang. It isn't one person with one great idea. It's often iterative, and it's often a function of collaboration and the multiple perspectives and the different ideas, right? So we went from handing the ball off to just tapping the ball to then swiping the ball, right? Different ideas, and it was iterative to get to half a second. So,
right, our assumption is that since you were facilitating it, is that we couldn't really tell you what to do.
Right.
Which is also interesting.
Yeah. What are the rules? Yeah. So quite often we assume rules. We assume the way we're doing something, we do it that way because that's how it has to be done, or that's the way it must be done. When in fact, quite often that's not the case. Distinguishing the criteria, the boundaries, and what's good enough, what's the quality criteria from the process, and making that distinction is important. Otherwise, you'll never change the process. If we assumed that we had to throw the ball, then we never would have gotten to half a second, even though that's not one of the rules. Right? That's not one of the rules.
You said that there's a record of half a second.
Right.
To kind of encourage us to work, more efficiently, because it gave us belief that it is possible.
So what was that about? So we were feeling pretty good at, I think, 1.7, right? That was great. And then this outside data point came in. Said, oh, well, the world record for a group twice this size is half a second. So what was going on there? What competitive? No. And it's kind of a form of benchmarking. It's a if we'd set out at the beginning to say, okay, we want to improve this process by 50%. What if we put a goal? We achieved that in round 4. Would we have ever gotten to half a second? Probably not. Right? But with this outside data point, sort of a benchmarking kind of thing. So benchmarking can be a powerful sort of way to calibrate how you're doing. Right? Because we thought we were doing great when we got it down to 50%. If we had that as the assigned goal. So we didn't have a goal, right? So we just had, well, we had the goal of improving it. We didn't have a specific goal. But the benchmark gave us sort of a calibration of what could be. Now, the benchmarking is interesting in terms of industry best practices. What if you're the best in the industry? So there's an airline in the United States called Southwest Airlines. They are, for years, have been more profitable than any other airline. They are the best at what they do. So airplanes make money when they're in the air. They don't make money when they're on the ground. So they taxi faster, they load and unload baggage faster, they load and unload passengers faster. They really focused on turnaround time on the ground to be as fast as it can be. They also have a great sense of humor. Their announcements, all the required FAA announcements are often very humorous. So it's fun, and it's efficient, and they're profitable. And they couldn't benchmark against British Airways or United Airlines or American Airlines because they're already better than them. So they went and looked at Indianapolis 500 pit crews to understand, because who does that kind of work the fastest? It isn't an airline, it's the race car pit crews. So who you pick to benchmark it can be interesting, especially if you're already the best in the industry. So that's an interesting dynamic around creating some goals and incentives to improve. Now, so it's iterative. We all had, we were all aligned to the goals. How about the estimates? How did the estimates? How do we do on estimating? So 6 to 10, pretty wide range. We were 7. 5 to 6, 4.9. 4.9, 4.7. So with experience, we got better at estimating. Right? So one of the things that is another inhibitor to innovation is when management arbitrarily assigns goals in the absence of any experience. So we got better at estimating as we got more and more experience in doing it. Okay.
This means we better not set the target too high. Is it just
well,
look at what you can and then estimate and then try.
Right.
Gradually.
So setting goals without experience is an arbitrary exercise that really has little or no value, and it can be very frustrating because it could be you set a goal that's totally unachievable in the absence of any experience with whatever it is you're trying to measure. So it's best to get some experience, but this again talks about the tolerance for discovery. Right? How many businesses or managers have the flexibility to say, well, we're going to try this a different way. We're not going to measure it. We don't have any goals. We're just going to kind of explore. So in research and development labs, they often behave that way. But in the business, the people who are doing the work are often expected to do the certain requirements and expectations, and so they don't come up with better ways to do things because they're risk averse. Right? So did we have failures in this?
Yeah.
Yeah. But so none of the ideas actually went backwards. Some of the teams will actually try something and it proves to be longer.
And number 6, I think, didn't really turn out as
was about the same as this one?
Yeah. 1 point.
So we never tried an idea that was really totally worse. But would that have been a failure?